Ed, listening to you, I think that's fintechable. Do you think
Yes,
the fintech, why don't you set up a fintech division specializing in small companies, get all these millennials, don't pay them too much so it's not high cost, and then push the agenda forward? What do you think?
Good point. I think we have to work with the SEC on that. Because the dilemma I have, no, not the dilemma, I'm asking, that's the SEC, right?
Yes, SEC.
You have the problem you have now is we have crowdfunding in the States, right? Which you can donate amount. I think we're not allowing that yet in the Philippines, or I thought I remember asking the chair, Herbosa, but I haven't seen anything to that effect. Because if you allow that, then that's a one way to raise funding for the SMEs. But the registration process now is the SEC, right? If you're getting from more than 19, you have to file a prospectus. So imagine all the paperwork required to raise money if it's more than 19 investors, whether debt or equity. So it's not an easy thing. So that's regulatory. If they simplify that or make it easier, then we'll be able to tap the smaller investors. But just imagine, the list of things they have to do to raise money. So.
Now, we heard from Rachel a while ago, her focus on investor protection, right? So companies coming to the market, how confident are you that the companies that the industry brings to the market are within the standards that the SEC set?
No, the SEC does a good job, but it's meant for the. No, I don't know if the word is correct. Meant for the bigger boys, because it's very tedious. So if you're able to get to pass the SEC and the PSE requirements, we're very comfortable that they're not fly by night. They have the track records. We've done thorough due diligence. But the question is, if you're going to do that for a 50 or 100 million IPO company, you go through all that work. Is it worth it? But those that are listed, because at least. What's that? Remember, there's a type 1, type 2 errors. We might be committing type 2 errors in that we're so strict. So that's why what only passes for approvals are, sure, they're okay. But there could be maybe another 1,000 companies out there who could list. But because we're so strict, there's so many forms to be required, so many requirements, they will never get approved. We will not see them listing.
So would you advocate for SEC regulators to not lower, but kind of make it easier for companies to come to the market, right? The way to do it is SEC maybe can make it easier for companies to come to the market, and if something goes wrong, they go after underwriters like you.
Right now they already can go after underwriters. Yeah. That's and we recognize that responsibility. We hear the banks. We really have to do due diligence and prove it. The SEC has become more strict. In the past, if you're a lead underwriter, you're the one they'll go after. Now, even the sub underwriters, they require you to go through thorough due diligence, so you cannot just join at the last moment.
So Ed, does that make you more conservative about bringing companies to the market then?
In a way, we are more conservative because we're comfortable that when we bring a company in, yes, they will pass. They at least we've really reviewed them thoroughly. But you pose a good question, Danny. I mean, there might be more companies there, but because we have to step back, are we being too strict? Potentially being too strict, and therefore they're not even considering listing because they're realizing I cannot meet all these requirements.
They get intimidated by the whole process.
They might.
Yeah. So going forward, 2018, right? The index is at close to 8,500. I don't want to ask you your fearless forecast, but I will. Where do you see the index a year from today when we sit down again with your kind support of our event? Where do you think the index will be?
No, I guess same as Fritz. We're very conservative.
Fritz was very progressive a while ago.
Well, okay.
He was talking about 10, 11,000 a while ago.
Then my year-end forecast was still 8,500, right? I think there's this exuberance, but I think it will swing. But even 8,500 is a decent return from the start of the year. So if I target 8,500 year-end, I think that's the house view anyway. Let's put 10%. So another 850, so 9.3. So it's not the 11 or 12,000 that some other brokers are thinking of, because I think if we rise too high, it will cause more volatility, and I also want to protect the principles of our investors. I'd rather have that steady, constant, growth. That way, especially the new online investors, the young, the millennials, they won't get burned.
Yeah, that's true. That's very important. Finally, you mentioned 6 IPOs in the pipeline and of varying sizes. How many of them do you think will finally come to the market, and how many more, perhaps in the next few years? Where do you see, the market cap of this, the Philippine market? To
good question. Historically, we have around 5 IPOs a year, right? So I think, I don't know, from the PSE's perspective, if we can raise it to 10 IPOs, I think that would be already a significant move in the medium term, because they've never had more than that. In the past, there were follow-on offerings, no. So we've had, I think, 7 or 8 or maybe 6 IPOs this year, 2 large follow-ons, China Bank and BDO follow-on. What am I going to see the end of this next few months? We'll see the PSE follow-on, right? Which we're fortunate to be part of. We will see the Del Monte preferred second tranche. That's $1 perpetual. So at least those 2 we're targeting doing. Hopefully there'll be another 1 or 2 deals this year. So if that brings us already 10 or 12, so it's already above previous years. No? And then next year, I think we can probably do another 10. So I'm comfortable because I have the pipeline, just me. But of course, my competitors have their own pipeline. So if they lead these transactions and we do them all together, that will be great for us.
Which competitor do you think challenges you the most?
All naman, they challenge. They really, so we have to keep on, we keep on our toes because everyone is challenging us. And then the other thing also, with this PDEX PSE merger or acquisition, I think it's positive because, Daniel, I don't know if you know, but in theory, if you're not listed, you cannot list on PDEX. There are only 2 exceptions, but the rules of the SEC are also strict. They have to be in, parang as if they're listed. They have to be independent directors, they have to have audit remuneration, all this NOMELEC. If we do not meet those requirements, they cannot list. So even to list on PDEX is very challenging. If they loosen that up, it would be easier. But the SEC is saying they're following SRC. So if you do not change the SRC, it's also tough to list there. So the requirements are not easy also.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we've had a very, very interesting discussion today, and Ed, thanks for sharing so much of your insights, being an expert on this market. The Philippine market, for sure, has a lot of this opportunity in the capital markets. We're seeing opportunity, of course, in the initiatives by the central bank in digital payments and this digital solution. We're also seeing real effort to try to push the infrastructure agenda going forward. One of our speakers mentioned, just do it. Right? Instead of just talking about it. We tried, the previous administration, they call it PPP, right? Hopefully it's not PowerPoint presentation, as we said previously, but hopefully that things will happen going forward. And the capital market, Ed, should play a role, and I hope that you succeed in bringing more companies to the IPO market. Big hand to Ed Francisco, BDO Capital, for sharing his thoughts.